This is Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. Today's world faces a lot of challenges bordering on leadership and responsibility. Across America, Europe, Asia, and Africa, the challenge of leadership and responsibility is taking a toll on society, with each geographical expression facing its own peculiar challenge. Indeed, no region is exempted. In Nigeria, leadership and responsibility has its own challenges, especially among the states of the Federation. There is this public perception that the bane of Nigeria's governance system is largely the challenge of leadership and responsibility. Of course, recently, President Muhammadu Buhari tasked his newly constituted Advisory Council on Economy to look inwards and finding solutions to the nation's challenges. This is in addition to his consistent advice at several fora to states of the Federation to deliver to their people the dividends of democracy, in line with his huge concentration on completing projects initiated by previous administrations across the country. Experts and scholars are of the opinion that when the second tier of government gets it right, Nigeria will be better placed. There are mixed approaches, though, to developmental programs across many states, some actually doing the needful, while others are still tinkering on what should be their direction. On today's Weekend File, reports from our centers take a look at the current situation, even as we shall feature a seasoned administrator. Thank you indeed for joining us. My name is Kenneth Ima Abudike. The news comes first. The federal government might be forced to reallocate projects elsewhere if any state government or community creates unnecessary impediments in the allocation of land or access to such land for federal projects, and ministries have been directed on this. A statement by Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu. President Buhari frowns at the situation of chasing away contractors on site or making undue demands from them by local communities, or the deliberate actions of state government to frustrate the allocation of lands for federal projects. President Buhari knows that the refusal to allocate lands for federal projects or the growing hostility by communities against contractors on site are hurting the interests of the very people government is elected to serve, and this must stop forthwith. The International Monetary Fund has commended Nigeria's decision to close its land border to illegal trade, as it will ensure growth of local industries. Chimaobi Walter Naji reports that this was pointed out during the African Regional Economic Outlook report presented at the ongoing annual meeting in Washington, D.C.
And the rest of the world move towards the fourth industrial revolution and strengthening economic ties among countries, the IMF and World Bank has continued to project slower growth in the African region to scale up slightly to 3.6% in 2020 from 3.2% in 2019. Now, properly harnessing the potentials of the Continental Free Trade Agreement, solving issues of climate change, mitigating the spread of security challenges and xenophobic attacks in some African countries, and closing the gap of gender bias in economic decisions, the IMF say will help for a stronger growth in the region. It was the consensus of the IMF that the land border closure in Nigeria will further mitigate the inflow of illegal trade happening on the fringes of the border communities in the country and strengthen the bilateral ties between Nigeria and the neighboring countries.
On the border closure in Nigeria, which has been impacting Benin and Niger, our understanding is that the border has been closed, reflecting concerns about smuggling that's been taking place, illegal trade, not the legal trade that you want to facilitate. So we're very hopeful that discussions will resolve the challenges that this illegal trade is fostering. To be sure, if the border closure was to be sustained for a long time,
While applauding the gains of the economic recovery growth plan of the federal government in Nigeria, the IMF, however, expressed concerns on the growing debt profile within Africa and the impact it is having on the local economies. In Washington, D.C., I'm Chimaobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari's order for a forensic audit of the activities of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) from 2001 till date is another clear reflection of his total commitment to the fight against corruption. This is coming from the Buhari Media Organization (BMO). The organization describes it as proof that the president is also prepared to demand explanation from some of his own political appointees, contrary to insinuations by opposition elements of a one-sided war against corruption. In a statement by its chairman, Niger Akishiju, the audit is a masterstroke in the administration's efforts to ensure that Nigerians in the region get value for huge funds injected into the intervention agency. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reiterated the commitment of the federal government towards free and compulsory education across the country. The Vice President stated this in Ibadan at the 30th anniversary of Victory International Church and the proclamation of Dominion University. Correspondent Ayomiko Ajibola reports that Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde was also at the event.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo congratulated Bishop Taiwo Adelakun for God's faithfulness in his life in the past 30 years, and particularly his achievement in the education sector by establishing Dominion University. He assured that the federal government is committed to a knowledge-driven economy, hence its huge investment in the education sector.
That is a determination that the federal government has, and we'll be working actively with the states that wish to do so. We'll work with them in whatever way that we can, supporting them in whatever way that we can, to ensure that they meet the objectives, especially of free and compulsory education for all children in the first 9 years of their lives, and hopefully all the way up to university level.
Special prayer were offered for President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, and Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde.
A former head of state, Yakubu Gowon, has advised Nigerians to hope for a greater Nigeria irrespective of her challenges. At a dinner organized by the Institute of Governance and Leadership Studies to mark his 85th birthday, it was outpour of eulogies for the man who never negotiated the unity of Nigeria. Kunle Adeyeye reports.
It's an assemblage of creme de la creme in Nigeria to honor the former head of state who navigated the country at one of its most trying periods. From representative of the president to former and serving governors, traditional rulers, it was encomiums for the man who insisted on Nigeria's unity with many policies while presiding over Nigeria's affairs.
His main claim to fame is his stewardship of Nigeria through the turbulent times of strife and civil war in the late 60s. Under his leadership, Nigeria laid the foundation of economic development.
He promulgated the indigenization and nationalization decree to empower Nigerians to benefit from the newly found black gold.
When we contemplate the life and service of General Yakubu Gowon, we are in the presence of a rare Nigerian political figure who is fully deserving to be referred to as a statesman.
He's the father of the nation. He has contributed so much for this country and Africa as a whole. He's a man that he will live in the memory of all Nigerians.
Yakubu Gowon, who reminisced on his time as the head of state and his post-leadership rule, emphasized that the people stand to gain more when united than when the country falls apart.
We thank God for everything, and let me say this, I thank God for making me a Nigerian and giving me the opportunity and helping me to ensure that Nigeria continues for the sake of all of you, the younger ones.
The former head of state ruled Nigeria between 1966 and 1975. In Abuja, Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
As the Kogi and Bayelsa state governorship elections draw nearer, the All Progressives Congress APC has inaugurated campaign committees for the conduct of the exercise in the two states to ensure victory of the party. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports that Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State is the chairman of the campaign council for Kogi State, and Governor Badiru Abubakar of Jigawa State is for Bayelsa State.
The countdown to the conduct of Kogi and Bayelsa State's governorship election is by the day coming closer. The inauguration of the campaign committees is a prelude to the launch of the campaign on Monday, the 21st October 2019. National Chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, expressed confidence that APC will be victorious through the ballot. Advised the committees to penetrate all the nooks and crannies of the state with specific goal of achieving victory, devoid of rancor and hostility.
We believe in the power of the ballot. We believe that the issues should be contested in a peaceful environment, not by the power of gunshots.
Chairman of the campaign committees thanked the party for the opportunity to serve and promised to do the needful.
I am confident that the good work done by His Excellency Governor Yahaya Bello in the last 4 years, the combined effort of all of us, focus and unity of purpose, we will deliver Kogi State with an even wider margin than the last year.
This assignment is a historic assignment because, inshallah, this is the time that we should take over as a government of Bayelsa State.
Governors of Kogi, Borno, Kebbi, and Niger State attended the ceremony. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
4,832 soldiers have been injected into the Nigerian Army. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishaki, announced this at a passing out parade for the 78th regular recruit intake of the Nigerian Army Depot, Zaria, Kaduna State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa now reports.
This signifies the completion of the 6 months intensive military training for these recruits. In view of the prevailing security threats, the training is aimed at producing motivated, disciplined and responsive soldiers capable of combating complex contemporary security challenges. These additional combatants, the Chief of Defense Staff, who is the reviewing officer for the exercise, noted, are critical to the quest to secure Nigerians and Nigeria.
As you all know, Nigeria is currently facing numerous security challenges occasioned by the activities of Boko Haram terrorists, armed bandits, kidnappers, and other criminal elements. I wish to state that these security challenges will soon come to an end, as we will not rest on our oars.
Records from the 78 regular recruits intake indicate that Amina Mohammed emerged the best female in drills, while Isa Tohid is the best male in marksmanship. From the Nigerian Army Depot, Zaria, Kaduna State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has commended the Nigerian police force for the discovery of a child theft racket in Kano State and fake correctional centers in Kaduna and Katsina State, urging them to sustain these good efforts across the country. Reacting to the incidents and arrests, President Buhari notes that such arrest is in line with his commitment to human rights and dignity of the citizens, regardless of their age, religion, and ethnicity. In a statement by Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President Buhari says he will not support criminality under any guise, including the abduction of children and selling them off illegally, as well as physical abuses of inmates in the name of rehabilitation. President Buhari appeals to members of the public to remain vigilant and assist security agencies in crime prevention around their communities. Minister of Environment Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar says the demonstration of unflinching commitment to the oil pollution remediation project in Ogoniland should propel other parts of the country contending with one form of environmental challenge or the other to keep faith with the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. Minister Abubakar made observation during his maiden working visit to the Ogoni cleanup sites in Rivers State.
It is the first visit of the minister to Rivers State after he took charge of the Ministry of Environment. After a brief meeting with the staff of IPREP, the minister was conducted round clusters of sites within Tai and Eleme Council areas, during which he observed that about 30% of work has been achieved. He advised against activities that will frustrate smooth operations.
The whole country will want to do an environmental assessment of where are things happening. It's not just impact of oil, but we have places where we have severe erosion, deforestation, where you have desertification. Now that we are doing high prep here, let's concentrate on high prep and make sure it's done and it's done well.
The complex impacted sites, according to IPREP, will soon receive attention from a joint team of United Nations technical staff and IPREP.
A joint team of IPREP and United Nations team going right as we speak to do a reconnaissance of the complex sites.
Chairman Ogoni Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers, King Godwin Ginewa, interacted with the minister and expressed concern with the pace of work and engagement of the indigents.
If they are awarding contract, they should consider Ogoni people. The Ogoni people are prepared to support you, and please let us benefit from it.
The minister sensitized Ogoni women, as about 400 of them are said to be trained on agro-business skills by IPREP. From Tai in Rivers State, Robinson Derateide, NTA News.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and the National Institute for Security Studies are stepping up interagency collaboration to contain the spate of insecurity on lives and property of the oil company's operations. Frequent attacks on the nation's oil and gas facilities, several kidnap attempts on the staff manning the facilities, among other physical challenges, are what necessitated the partnership. Hence, the meeting between NNPC's Group Managing Director, Malam Melekiari, and a delegation from the Institute.
Security is that these assets are safe, leakages are covered, and ultimately to preserve the overall national interest. So it is in our informed interest to collaborate with this institute to deepen knowledge and understanding, and even to the ability to make the right decisions that will protect these assets, which includes both the human and the material and the physical assets that we have.
We want people to know the National Institute for Security Studies, presently at par with the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, as well as National Defense College. We train among security agencies, law enforcement, military, regulatory agencies, including NNPC.
A statement by the NNPC's Acting Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Samson Makoji, says the institute will offer security training and research services to the corporation. It is 3 days celebration for Christian faithful from the North Central and parts of Northeast and Northwest Nigeria at the Middle Belt Praise Festival in Abuja. Here is Mitai Rayben with that report.
It is another historic worship at the National Christian Center, where for the first time these Nigerians are coming together in what they tagged the Middle Belt Praise Festival to celebrate God's faithfulness as well as truth, freedom and peace. The conveners see the 3-day faith gathering as one that supports the country's diversity, stressing the need of harnessing same for national development.
Actually, this is very, very significant because this is dealing with the identity of a people.
And the key here is that they need to unite themselves as one people and stop quarreling each other or fighting each other or having tribal differences. God put us in the same region for a reason.
Different speakers also admonished Christians to continue to pray for the progress of Nigeria. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Leaders are the captains of the ship, and a great deal of the development of any society depends on them. So what is the Nigerian experience in this regard at the state levels? This we will get to know from our team of correspondents across the country after this break.
International blogger, I travel a lot.
Canada,
India,
Times Square,
Hollywood,
shut down New York, and then we'll be back in India. This tour is going to be fantabulous. I'm telling you the truth. We are shutting down London. But it's been an awesome time hanging out with you. It's time for dance. Hey, you must be on Glow.
Is that your new pickup line?
Glow Super Value Pack. Enjoy more talk time with data and more data with talk time in Nigeria and your favorite international destinations.
Because as a comedian, I like to talk.
So true.
So what do you do? Oh, I'll call you.
Dial *777# to choose a plan.
The National Council for Women's Societies presents its congratulatory banquet celebrating Nigeria female ministers, legislators, administrators, and captains of industry. Theme: Mentorship, a panacea for capacity building of women for governance and business. Chief host, Dr. Mrs. Gloria Laraba Shoda, National President, Coordinator, Standing Committee on Social Issues, ICW. Special guest of honor, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Buhari. Venue: International Conference Center, Abuja. Date: Monday, 21st October 2019. Time 6 p.m. It's time to celebrate our women. This dinner is supported by DRPC, Facilitating Participatory Development, and the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Organizing Committee. Announcer.
It is another morning. Not just an ordinary time. Start of a new day. A new beginning. As you prepare everyone for the long day ahead, just anything is not enough. It is only you who makes breakfast special. You make them creamy. You make them tasty. You add vitamins and nutrients we need for a delightful, healthy start to the day.
So start your day right with Hollandia Evap.
Hollandia Evap. Life tastes different. Hollandia.
Helpline Foundation Nigeria and partners present the 3rd Annual Africa Women Conference, AWC 2019, a gathering of experts, institutions, corporate organizations, and individuals promoting the growth, stability, and development of African women, exploring viable options through which various resources available to African women can be channeled towards the sustainable development of the continent. Expected participants include wives of African heads of government, female parliamentarians, public office holders, entrepreneurs, and sustainable development partners. Theme: Building a coalition to end gender inequality in Africa. Date: 21st to 23rd November 2019. Venue: Kenzi Menara Palace, Marrakesh, Morocco. Chairperson of the occasion, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, First Lady, Federal Republic of Nigeria. For participation and inquiries, visit www.africa-womenconference.org or call +234 806 5388424. AWC, building an Africa where every woman's potential is fully harnessed. Powered by Helpline Foundation Nigeria, Echoes Africa Initiatives New York, International Center for Diplomacy, Morocco.
Your information dey important, just like your identity. Now the only way we fit take hala you o. Make you go browse easy.gotvafrica.com. Sign in with your IUC number and mobile number and scroll down to personal details and address. Then check well to see say everything bam. You fit change the one wey not correct. To finish everything, just click the save button and it don't finish.
Thank you. I make sure say my phone number dey correct. That's now why GoTV fit call me make I come collect my own awoof.
Angel, time for my phone in that way because now my correct phone number dey for book.
GoTV. Live it. Love it.
Not look me again, no. Make you go do your own.
Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit 2019 holds on the 6th to the 8th of November 2019. The summit will take place at the Banquet Hall Presidential Villa, Abuja, Nigeria. Theme: leveraging diaspora resources for economic growth. Sectors: agribusiness, education, training, healthcare, entertainment, sports, hospitality and tourism, infrastructure and real estate, manufacturing, extractive industries, telecommunications, technology and innovation, waste management and environmental remediation, transportation. For registration, visit www.ndis.gov.ng. For participation and sponsorship, please call 090-177-77008, 0817-2244-660. Convened by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission.
Welcome back. Lagos residents have great expectations that the new leadership in the state will meet their yearnings and aspirations in various areas. Jessiton Moses in this report feels the pulse of some of the leaders and the light on how to collaborate to successfully achieve the vision of making Lagos the 21st century economy.
According to social contract theory, those holding political offices had signed an agreement with those whom they lead. Such agreement defines the rights and duties of each party, whereby the leaders are in a position of trust for the public good. Some who have signed such agreement with the people of Lagos say innovative ways have been adopted to deliver on the contract. In the area of poverty alleviation, the state had discovered that the old approach must be reviewed, as the Commissioner, Bolaji Dada, says.
We will look out for those that have learnt and acquired knowledge on their particular skills, but do not have money to set themselves up.
The work and infrastructure sector is currently witnessing a state of emergency, which has led to huge mobilization of contractors to major highways and roads across the state.
So what had come out from our discussion is that all of them have been given brief, major reconstruction, and some palliative work would start immediately in various parts of the state.
The projects that were embarked upon by the previous administrations will be completed by this government, because their vision, this is to make life more meaningful and more comfortable for our people.
Residents on the other side of the contract are no doubt hopeful and expectant that their leaders will fulfill and deliver all their contract agreements, not having to wait for the government at the center for citizens to reap the benefit of democracy.
In spite of claims to serve the people, leadership and governance responsibilities at the state level in Nigeria are said to be largely unaccountable and defective. Kingsley Amajiri reports on this view as gathered from Rivers and Cross River states.
Stipulates state government primary role to include security of lives and property, provision of basic amenities, creating an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, establishment of healthcare facilities and educational institutions. To some, a responsible state leadership entails the ability of such state administration to effectively deliver on its constitutional responsibility.
We're not interested in who rules, we're interested in governance, the results, the evidence. Leadership comes from within. A good leader will work for the people.
In Rivers, how accountable is the leadership? Are the priorities in tandem with the people's expectations?
And in some aspects, they are trying, like transportation, the roads, we give it to them.
To keen watchers, the leadership in the state has made appreciable mark in the areas of security and road infrastructure, but say there is need for decentralization of such development projects.
My worry is this. The development should be such a development that it will cut across the state.
We don't even have blueprint policies. You can say, okay, in the next 5 years, this is where we want the state to be. Let Rivers State be known for one thing.
Paul Ebel in Calabar reports that since the return of unbroken democracy in Nigeria, Cross River State has had its fair share of constitutional leadership responsibilities by different political actors.
The essence of government at any given time is the liberation of the downtrodden from the shackles of political and economic backwardness. And so if you remove the people, then there's no longer government.
While some keen observers lauded past and present administrations for their service to the state through several life-changing policies, programs, and projects, some were hasty to condemn their actions as retrogressive. Kingsley Amachuri, NTA News.
The Kaduna Urban Renewal Project, launched recently by the state government, has rekindled hope in recouping the lost infrastructural glory the ancient town has been known for decades after the execution of the first Kaduna Master Plan 100 years ago. With human and material resources mobilized across various sides of the project component, doubts and cynicism have given way to hope and optimism in a Kaduna of great promise of prosperity. Major Ma'a Adamu tells us more.
Worried by this gross infrastructural deficit, the Nasir El-Rufai administration recently launched ambitious Kaduna Urban Renewal Project, a project he termed the most comprehensive accelerated response to the urbanization challenges of Kaduna town. The bulldozers have since been rolled out. Structures that have encouraged public passages have been pulled down, and with them are mixed reactions.
We are in support 100%. It is our state. Let him fix it for us.
Beyond these wailings and hailings lies the promise of a new Kaduna that will be a friendly home to its residents, a safer place to live and promote livelihoods of the citizenry. The road components of the project, which has since commenced, include 7 new roads of over 23 kilometers domiciled within Kaduna metropolis. These are designed to open up locked-off areas and fast-track connectivity with key places like the upcoming Eastern Bypass, the already congested Western Bypass, and Rigasa train station, among other busy places in the town. 14 existing roads have also been earmarked for dualization or upgrading. Among them is this Yakubu Gawan Road, a busy and important road along which the oldest radio and television stations in northern Nigeria, the Central Bank, and other important public facilities are located. The projection is to usher in a modern Kaduna town that is well up and up, its communities well interconnected with many alternative routes of standard.
By the grace of God, in 18 months, we'll have a new Kaduna with new roads, less congestion, no traffic problems, and more people will have plots to build their homes outside of the old Kaduna GRA.
Already, the long-abandoned multi-billion naira Zaria Water Expansion project has been finally delivered, while installations of closed-circuit television cameras for enhanced security, part of the good size to behold in Kaduna. Majama Adamu, NTA News.
Various state governments in the southeast zone have made remarkable efforts to provide critical infrastructure aimed at improving the quality of life of the people, improving earnings, stimulating commerce, and ultimately reducing poverty. China Yungwoye has details of these reports.
The major planks of successive administrations in Enugu State have always been integrated rural development and inclusive government, and this objective has been vigorously pursued through a number of strategic sustainable rural infrastructure intervention. With 4 years and a few months in office, Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi has constructed, reconstructed, and rehabilitated about 550 kilometers of roads, pedestrian bridges, culverts, street lights, and traffic lights, and 65% of this infrastructure are in the rural areas. One of such critical infrastructure is the 8.8-kilometer reconstructed Ehamufu-Nkalagu Road, which serves as a gateway to the north through Obolafo, connecting Ebonyi State through Nkalagu. The road has not only eased evacuation of agricultural produce to urban areas, but has also curtailed rural-urban migration.
Rural development strategy to ensure that those people who are living in rural areas have the benefit of good roads, good infrastructure.
All the government that we have had in this civilian era have done progressively well in terms of infrastructure. We now have a road that can reach to Osoka through OP.
Ebonyi State has witnessed several infrastructure developments by the past and present administrations in the state. Some of these infrastructure include over 49 bridges, dualization of Abakaliki-Enugu Highway and Abakaliki Ring Road. To ease the plight of commuters in the state, Imo State Governor Emeka Ihedioha recently flagged off road projects across the state to complement the existing ones and facilitate development in other areas.
Most of these roads were left unupgraded when we came in.
The story is the same in Anambra State, where the governor, Willie Obiano, embarked on various road projects to boost economic activities in the state, link various communities, and improve the gross domestic product in the state.
This road, when completed, would be the first third road the people of Onono will be seeing in their life.
With more ongoing laudable projects awaiting completion, this infrastructure development made with available resources will no doubt facilitate development in other areas of the states. In Enugu, Chinenye Nwoye, NTA News.
So much from the field, and the Federal Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator George Akume, is in the studio to give further perspectives. Do join us again after this break.
For more than 10 years, NTA Educational Television has continued to champion the discovery of young scientists and artists across the country. The 2019 National Children's Expo promises to bring to light the best of innovations and creativity in the science and arts categories. Theme: promoting unity and innovations in youths as agents of change through science and arts. Venue: NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. Date: Sunday, October 20th to Thursday, October 24th, 2019. For more information, please call the following numbers. This event is proudly supported by NTA ETV, promoting learning.
When be seen now today or 4 days when my girls won't come visit me, I need to come go expire.
Oh, but my guys, they can't follow me watch this match. I must not fold the hand.
Babe, what's happening now? Sorry to disappoint you, but my subscription don't expire.
The match is not on my GoTV package.
Now your holla be that. I beg, give me your phone.
Make I show you how you go take do it for my GoTV app for your phone.
Life is so much easier with my GoTV app. Make payments, clear error messages, change your package. You can also check your due dates and keep abreast of your payment history.
With the corner, Matip is there.
The new My GoTV app is everything you need in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download My GoTV app now from Google Play or App Store to enjoy the easy life. GoTV. Live it, love it.
An award that has succeeded to pool a galaxy of stars from the north, south, east to the west, and central Africa, and also those that are domiciled beyond the shores of Africa under one roof.
Welcome back, as we are now joined by the Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator George Akume. You're welcome to Weekend File.
Oh, thank you.
Let's start. Given public perception on the provision of dividends of democracy, or to put it another way, basic amenities, to what extent do you think the federal government is under pressure in that regard?
Thank you very much. Nigeria operates
a presidential system of government. And this presidential system is anchored on a federal system. And under the federal system, you have 3 tiers of government: the federal, the states, and the local governments. Each and every one of them have been assigned responsibilities and functions by the Constitution of our country. The framers of our Constitution were very, very clear in what they intended each and every tier of government should be implementing for the benefit of all Nigerians. And when you talk about dividends of democracy, I believe you are referring to what the citizenry expect from the government, not just the center. They want to know what the state is doing, they want to know what the local governments are doing. In order to support all these tiers of government to implement their mandates, the framers also came out with a very good idea of allocating resources to each and every tier of government for the purpose of implementing policies that are supposed to enhance the well-being of the citizenry of our country. When you look at the exclusive legislative list, it's so embracing, huge, and defense, foreign affairs, and so on. Excise duties, it is huge. And federal government under the law is allocated, I think, 48.5% of all federally collected revenues. And in the discharge of its mandate, it is looking after the security of this country. If you look at the fact that serious security breaches that occurred before the advent of this government have been seriously confronted. And therefore, we take a look at the Northeast, which came seriously under Boko Haram insurgency. Today, it is a different play. The fact is, Boko Haram has been substantially degraded. Today, they operate as a ragtag army, carrying out surprise attacks from time to time, which is normal in every situation. Go even to, if you look at the issue of United States and Vietnam, in those days where the difference is so clear, they couldn't make it. Look at Afghanistan, look at the other places and so on. And when you look at other areas of intervention to make life more meaningful for the people, you see what this government is doing. It's not just a question of securing lives and property. Look at the issue of economy. This was economy that was in recession. If this economy had not exited the recession, this government wouldn't have been able to do these things I'm talking about. The SIP is one of the critical intervention programs of this government, and the results are monumental. If you listen to the statement by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development, over 30 million people have been affected by this program, SIP. We're talking about direct cash transfer. You're talking about Empower. Empower, direct cash transfer is money to the poor of the poor, which has been supported by the World Bank. It's the most unprecedented thing in this country. You talk about Empower, mopping up graduates and others who have not been able to find employment at a regular level, but they have been paid 30,000. Now, when you look again at what? School feeding, which has brought back so many of these people into the secondary school system, into the primary school system, then you know precisely trader money and so on and so forth. Interventions in the area of agriculture, whether it is presidential initiative or fertilizer and outgrowers, money and so on, what the central bank is doing. These are monumental projects or immense proportion, and they are doing quite a lot for the people of this country. You go to the state level, they are also expected to deliver. And I want to believe that they are doing it. The only problem is that in some of the states, the local governments, which are supposed to be the tier that is closest to the people, denied access to their own resources. And therefore, performance in some of the states at the local government level may not be commendable. But again, they are also expected to do what they're expected to do under the law. The state governments are supposed to do some projects which are deliberately created by the second schedule of the Constitution under the residual list, which is supposed to be done between the federal government and the state governments. But by and large, look at the road construction. Federal roads are being rehabilitated. When you're talking about rail reformation in this country, it's monumental. You talk about power, because power is essential to economic growth and development of any nation. In the past, you must recall 16 billion sorted away with nothing to show for it. The new approach has come under this new government. And today, over 12,000 megawatts of power is being generated. I speak from experience. I recall in the days when I was governor.
Exactly.
Something happened. Nigeria was expected to deliver 6,000 megawatts onto the national grid by 2007. I was one of the members of that committee. One governor chosen pay one of the 6 geopolitical zones. So we were 6 on that board. The secretariat was housed by the ANPC. And the package was supposed to cost this nation 1.9 billion. Gradually it moved to 16. But this time some of us had withdrawn.
All right,
At the end of the day, whether Nigeria had value for that money is another story. I don't want to go into details.
You have spoken because you were once a governor of your state. Now, the perception, publicly speaking, a lot of people believe these amenities must come from the federal government, that is central now. Now, from your experience as a former governor, what do we do, to begin to change this public perception that states equally have their own share of these distributions of the social amenities?
Well, I'm happy that I'm in this studio because perception depends on the knowledge people also have about the workings, in this case, of the government. There is this kind of school that believes that everything is cornered by the federal government, and therefore, even provision of boreholes, provision of rural roads and market is the sole responsibility of the federal government. But I did mention at the beginning of this program that the Constitution is very clear. It has assigned responsibilities to all of us. And therefore, we have people who don't know. It is also the responsibility of the press to disseminate information concerning these responsibilities. It is also part of the mandate of the government through the Ministry of Information, through National Orientation Agency, and through all agencies of government, ministers, and so on and so forth, to let Nigerians also know what the Constitution has done in distributing this responsibility and functions amongst the 3 tiers of government. I am saying this because I want to believe, perhaps rightly or wrongly, that Nigerians are in a position to know what each tier of government is expected to do. If they don't, then it is our responsibility to inform them. And let me be very frank here again. Because of failure at the state level and at the local government level, in most instances, federal government comes in to intervene. And that is why you have these intervention agencies, and they're doing quite a lot of work. It isn't that the federal government has quite a lot of money. If you look at the fact that the federal government allocation is about 48.5%, state and local government 44.5% of monies accrues to the federation accounts. Then you know that the difference is so small, 48-44. And the 7.5% is still part of intervention, whether ecological fund, whether FCT, and so on and so forth. If every tier of government is doing what it's expected to do against the background of allocatable resources, Nigerians shouldn't be complaining so much. Some of the states are doing very well. There's no doubt about it. But there are some other states where nothing is happening. If you look at the fact that when we came into power, President Muhammadu Buhari decided in his wisdom to intervene in the states, budget support, monies for the payment of outstanding salaries and pensions. Some of the states apply these funds diligently, transparently, for the benefit of their own people. Others corner the funds completely. In some states, this is a disaster.
Honourable Minister, that's where we have a problem. What will the people do when they notice that things accruing to them as citizens of particular state are not coming to them? What do they do as citizens? Advise us.
Well, the whistleblower system is intended to unearth what is happening in the states. Don't forget the fact that at the lower level, where poverty is also stronger, and we're trying to push it away through some of these programs I have mentioned. People could be easily silenced by interested parties to ensure that the leakages and the massive corruption that is going on in the system is not brought to the fore, to the level that the affected, the citizenry, are sufficiently geared into action to move onto the streets. Truth here is, well, you have immunity. Truth again is that because of poverty, you could stop people from going out. If you want to use the system of divide and rule by throwing money here and ensuring that those from other groups look at what the other people are talking about as something that is so particularistic. They are against me because I'm not part of them.
Thank you.
And therefore, they can quietly continue to make the people, for the benefit of themselves, for the benefit of their own families.
Thank you.
Honestly, the press has a lot of role to play here.
Exactly.
The citizenry, they need to be guided. You are very well informed. You read a lot.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Access to all documents.
Thank you indeed.
When you project this, the people will even know more.
Thank you, Minister. Time wouldn't permit us to go on and on. Thank you for coming on Weekend File today.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to say that the press has a vital role to play in the management of affairs of this country.
Thank you.
You can never afford this country.
Okay.
You can never afford to fail.
Thank you.
So do your best for this country, and I want to emphasize this point. And earth is supposed to be an earth.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take another break on Weekend File.
Channel where you watch just now don't waka. No panic.
There's me no panic.
You go do it by yourself like ABC. Oh yeah, press the menu button on top your remote. Scroll up and down till you see Information Central. Then press OK.
Press OK.
Check the signal strength and quality. If the signal strength and quality pass 70, make you press the exit button, go back. Go advanced options, then choose installation, then go to reset and press OK.
Press OK. Wow, now you fit catch all those channels will be one miss road by yourself. Yes, make your groove for no loss. You see as I do, Abi? And I see as I do,
Go TV, live it, love it.
And I see as we do,
The NTA and the Village Headmaster family are pleased to announce the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the award-winning Village Headmaster television series. Monday, 28 October 2019, command performances of the Village Headmaster at the Terraculture Arena, Victoria Island, Lagos. Red carpet, 5 p.m. and live performance, 6 p.m. Tuesday, 29th October 2019 at 10 a.m. Roundtable discussion at Freedom Park, Broad Street, Lagos. Theme: Drama, a tool for national development. Join the NTA and the Village Headmaster family as we celebrate this Golden Jubilee. Attendance at both events is strictly by invitation. Announcer, Organizing Committee.
The funeral rites for late Ambassador Chiedu Osakwe, Nigeria's former Director General and Chief Negotiator of Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations, began on Thursday with a service of songs at the All Saints Church in Abuja. At the celebration of life attended by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and other top government officials, late Ambassador Chiedu Osakwe was described variously as someone who made so much impact on the lives of others around him and even the nation as well as Africa.
Not. It is a period like this, a sober period like this, that we ask pertinent questions, that we come to the realization that we are running up and down, grabbing here, grabbing there, is of no use.
Aged 68, 64, late Ambassador Osakwe chaired the negotiating forum of the African Union, AU, from June 2017 to March 2018, during which time the negotiations were concluded on the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area. His remains would be buried later in the month in his hometown, Ikenga, Ogidi, Anambra State, after all other funeral arrangements. Nigerian First Lady Aisha Buhari has unveiled the athletes that will compete in the 2020 World Para Powerlifting World Cup to be hosted in Abuja next year.
The First Lady Aisha Buhari, represented by the wife of the Vice President Dolapo Osinbajo, noted that hosting the 2020 championship will be an enormous task, with paralifters coming from Europe, the Americas, and Africa. She therefore tasked the organizers to put all hands on deck for the ultimate success of the event.
I am an advocate of women, children, and vulnerable groups here in Nigeria, and I shall champion all causes with all my strength. This means every challenge can be turned into a blessing, provided that the inner will, the inner force, is present to drive that positive change.
Ours is to further motivate and support the athletes to soar to greater heights and dreams.
Nigeria's earned respect over the years in World Para-Powerlifting was a motivating factor for the approval of a 3-year hosting right. The competition manager, International Para-Powerlifting Federation, Sam Monkley, revealed. A clothing line was also unveiled as a means to source revenue for retired athletes, which she reiterates was a part of her sustained support for vulnerable groups in society.
Gift George now brings us more